Hello there, fellow global citizens. Welcome to another deep dive into the fascinating world of international relations. Tonight we dive headfirst into the wacky, wild world of the US-China trade relationship. It's a tale of two giants, each with their own ambitions, strengths, and quirks. Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Imagine a roller coaster with unexpected twists and turns, and you're just beginning to grasp the complexity of this economic saga. Why should you care, you ask? Well, these two economic behemoths are kind of a big deal. Their actions ripple across the globe, affecting everything from the price of your morning coffee to the stock market. We're talking trillions of dollars in trade, folks. That's right, trillions with a T. The sheer volume of goods and services exchanged is mind-boggling. That's enough to make even Jeff Bezos blush. And if you think that's impressive, wait till you hear about the intricate web of supply chains and logistics that make it all possible. Think of it like this. China makes a lot of stuff the world wants, and America buys a lot of stuff. It's a symbiotic relationship, where each side plays a crucial role in the global economy. It seemed like a match made in capitalist heaven, right? Well, not so fast. Beneath the surface, there are tensions and conflicts that threaten to unravel this delicate balance. As with any good rom-com, things got complicated. Misunderstandings, disagreements, and a fair share of drama have marked this relationship. There were whispers of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and a whole lot of political posturing. Each side accused the other of playing dirty, and the stakes kept getting higher. And then, bam! The trade war drum started beating, tariffs were imposed, retaliations followed, and the world watched as these two giants clashed. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's unpack this economic thriller, shall we? From the highs of booming trade to the lows of a trade war, this story has it all. Stay tuned as we explore the twists and turns of the US-China trade relationship. Our story begins in the 1970s. Picture this. Richard Nixon, the king of sideburns himself, makes a historic trip to China. It was a bold move, a step into the unknown, as the United States and China had been estranged for decades. Nixon's visit was more than just a diplomatic gesture. It was a calculated risk to open up dialogue and potentially reshape global politics. The world watched with bated breath as Nixon shook hands with Chinese officials, marking the beginning of a new chapter in international relations. It was a time of bell-bottoms, disco fever, and, surprisingly, diplomatic breakthroughs. The 1970s were an era of cultural revolution and political change. Amidst the vibrant nightlife and the rise of disco, significant strides were being made in the realm of international diplomacy. Nixon's visit to China was a testament to the shifting dynamics of the time, where even the most unlikely of alliances could be forged. Fast forward to 2001, and China joins the World Trade Organization. This was a monumental event, symbolizing China's integration into the global economic system. The world watched as China took its place on the international stage, ready to engage in global trade and economic cooperation. The hopes were high, and the expectations even higher. The world cheered, hoping for a new era of global trade and prosperity. China's economy boomed, their factories churned out goods at lightning speed, and "Made in China" became a ubiquitous phrase. The rapid industrialization and economic growth were nothing short of miraculous, transforming China into a global manufacturing powerhouse. China's economy boomed, their factories churned out goods at lightning speed, and "Made in China" became a ubiquitous phrase. The rapid industrialization and economic growth were nothing short of miraculous, transforming China into a global manufacturing powerhouse. The streets of Chinese cities buzzed with activity, and the marketplace was filled with a plethora of goods, all bearing the now famous label. But, like a bad Tinder date, cracks started to appear. The initial euphoria began to wane as underlying issues came to the forefront. The honeymoon phase was over, and the complexities of the relationship started to reveal themselves. The once promising partnership began to show signs of strain. American businesses complained about China's unfair trade practices, currency manipulation, and forced technology transfers. The grievances were many and the frustrations palpable. Meetings that once held promise now turned into arenas of contention, with American businessmen voicing their concerns loudly and clearly. The U.S. trade deficit with China ballooned, and anxieties rose. The numbers told a story of imbalance, with the trade deficit growing year by year. Business people watched the stock market screens with bated breath, anxious about the future. The ports were bustling with activity, but the underlying tensions were hard to ignore. The stage was set for a trade showdown, the atmosphere was charged, and the stakes were high. The flags of the US and China stood side by side, symbolizing the impending clash. It was a diplomatic boxing ring, with each side preparing for a battle of wits and strategies. Little did we know, things were about to get real. The storm clouds were gathering and the air was thick with anticipation. The discussions grew more intense and the cityscape seemed to mirror the looming tensions. The stage was set, and the world was about to witness a dramatic turn of events. Enter Donald J. Trump, the self-proclaimed tariff man. In 2018, he slapped tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. China retaliated in kind, targeting American exports like soybeans and automobiles. The trade war was on like Donkey Kong. Stock markets plunged, businesses panicked, and economists predicted doom and gloom. Trump argued these tariffs were necessary to protect American jobs and intellectual property. Critics, however, called it a reckless gamble that would hurt American consumers and businesses. The back-and-forth tariff hikes continued, escalating tensions and creating uncertainty in the global economy. It was a game of economic chicken, with neither side willing to back down. This trade war wasn't just about soybeans and steel, folks. It was also about technology, that magical realm of smartphones, 5G networks, and artificial intelligence. Enter Huawei, the Chinese tech giant that became a pawn in this global chess match. The US accused Huawei of being a security threat, claiming their equipment could be used for espionage by the Chinese government. Huawei denied these allegations, but the US wasn't buying it. They banned American companies from doing business with Huawei, effectively blacklisting the company. This move sent shockwaves through the tech world. It highlighted the deepening technological rivalry between the US and China, a battle for dominance in the industries of the future. Soybeans and iPhones, casualties on the trade war battlefield. So, who felt the burn of this trade war? Well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. American farmers, particularly soybean farmers, saw their exports to China plummet. Prices crashed, and farm bankruptcies rose. American businesses, from small manufacturers to tech giants like Apple, faced higher costs for Chinese components. This, in turn, led to higher prices for consumers. The trade war also disrupted global supply chains, those intricate networks that bring us everything from our morning coffee to our latest gadgets. It was a stark reminder of how interconnected our world has become. Biden's balancing act, can you say decoupling diplomatically? In 2021, Joe Biden inherited this trade war mess from his predecessor. While acknowledging the challenges posed by China, Biden took a more measured approach. He focused on rebuilding alliances and working with allies to pressure China on trade practices. The tariffs, however, remained largely in place. The Biden administration also continued to scrutinize Chinese investments in the US and restrict exports of sensitive technologies. This balancing act, trying to compete with China while also cooperating on global issues like climate change, proved to be no easy feat. The question remained, could the US and China find a way to coexist peacefully in the global economy? Chips on the table. Is America all in on a tech showdown? Remember that tech war we talked about? Well, it went into overdrive under Biden. The US passed the Chips and Science Act, pumping billions of dollars into domestic semiconductor manufacturing. The goal? To reduce reliance on China for these critical components that power everything from smartphones to fighter jets. The US also imposed sanctions on Chinese tech companies involved in artificial intelligence and supercomputing, citing national security concerns. These moves signaled a shift in US strategy from simply trying to get China to play fair to actively trying to limit their technological rise. The crystal ball of trade. Predicting the future of US-China relations. The relationship between the United States and China has always been a complex and multifaceted one, marked by periods of cooperation and conflict. As we look into the future, the stakes have never been higher. So, what does the future hold for the US-China trade war? The economic interdependence between these two giants means that any shift in their relationship can send shockwaves through the global economy. From technology to agriculture, the ripple effects are felt far and wide. Well, if we had a crystal ball, we'd be sipping margaritas on a beach somewhere instead of talking about tariffs. But the reality is, predicting the future of US-China relations is more complicated than ever. The trade war has already seen multiple rounds of tariffs and counter-tariffs affecting industries and consumers on both sides. The recent tariffs imposed by the Donald Trump administration on China and the retaliatory tariffs imposed by China on the USA have added another layer of complexity. These measures have impacted various sectors, from technology to agriculture, and have led to increased costs for businesses and consumers alike. But one thing's for sure, this relationship is too important to ignore. The diplomatic and economic ties between the US and China are crucial, not just for these two nations, but for the entire world. The decisions made in Washington and Beijing will shape the future of international trade, security, and even climate change. Will we see a full-blown trade war escalation? The possibility of increased tariffs and stricter trade barriers looms large. Such a scenario could lead to higher prices for consumers and disruptions in global supply chains, affecting everything from electronics to clothing. A gradual easing of tensions. There is always hope for diplomatic resolutions and negotiated settlements. Both countries have much to gain from cooperation, and a de-escalation could pave the way for more stable and predictable economic relations. Or will we enter a new phase of strategic competition, a kind of Cold War 2.0, fought with tariffs and technology instead of tanks and missiles? The competition for technological supremacy, particularly in areas like 5G and artificial intelligence, could define the next chapter of US-China relations. Only time will tell. The future is uncertain, and the path forward is fraught with challenges and opportunities. As we watch the unfolding events, one thing is clear: the world is paying close attention. But one thing is certain: this saga is far from over. The US-China relationship will continue to evolve, and its impact will be felt across the globe. Stay tuned as we navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape. Your turn. What's the next chapter in this global saga? So, there you have it, folks. A crash course in the US-China trade war. We've covered the history, the drama, the economic impacts, and the uncertain future. Now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think is the best path forward for these two economic giants? Should they try to kiss and make up, or is a messy divorce inevitable? Head over to our comments section and let us know your thoughts. This is a conversation that affects us all, so let's get to it.